I've been playing at Rust a lot the last couple of days. My old PC couldn't run it at all, but this new custom rig runs like a dream. So I've been putting in the hours where I can. Now I've got to a good level. I'm not no expert, I'm not a pro, but I've got a nice little humble abode going here, and it's going pretty well. I've got to a point now where it's a day before wipe, and what that is the server starts fresh and you lose everything. So I want to try something a little more exciting. I want to go out raiding. So I took my trusty crossbow out, which I have come to be quite attached to, and I decided first I'd go down to a local mining outpost and get some more scrap and resources. Now, being a new player, I was still being very cautious. I decided to sit down and crouch in the trees for a bit, just take watch to see if anyone was actually in the outpost. These things can get pretty popular with people recycling metal parts to get scrap. Now the place was quiet, too quiet. It's a Monday morning on the day before reset, but this was just goddamn horror story. But I knew exactly whose base I needed to raid first. Some prick that I had an altercation with last night, and he was just a bit of a bully in the surrounding area. So we travelled to this absolute numbskull's base, and not to my surprise, he actually hasn't even made a roof. You can actually just climb up the side. So I just plonked a ladder down, went up the top, and I was in. I could finally exact a bit of revenge on this twat. Now I was being very cautious here, as he killed me quite a lot yesterday with a shotgun with incendiary ammo. So if he was to spawn in, it'd be quite low chances of me surviving. I also destroyed the wet wipes bed just so he couldn't respawn in here, especially if he was to quickly spawn into the server, but I couldn't see his body anywhere either, which got me a little bit worried. Where actually was he? Because I couldn't then prove that he had logged off. He could have come around at any moment. Now I gave up trying to look for the local bully and turned my attention elsewhere. Last night, what appeared to be a scammer, someone sent me their coordinates through the chat and asked me to come and see them. Obviously I didn't. I either thought they were perched up on a mountain somewhere and they were just going to snipe me, or I had no idea. But quite ridiculously, I went to the coordinates he gave me on the off chance, and his base was actually there. I'm not sure what he was thinking. This could be it. This could be the base that makes us rich. Granted, only for one night because they're wiping the server tomorrow. But this could be it. This could be my first big raid bust. I shat myself a little bit as soon as I saw the auto turrets, and then I did realise they weren't loaded, but I still took an approach round the back. I had a snoop round, and then I realised this is going to take everything I've got. This is going to be a tough one to get into. So I decided I'd walk back to camp and reevaluate what I could do. On my way back to the base, almost right next to it, I noticed this little yellow light as I was walking through the pitch black forest. When I went to investigate a little bit further, I realised someone had built a home right next to mine. Out of the whole map on this quiet solo server, they had managed to place themselves next to me, and they was going to regret it. I had him right in my sights. With a swift headshot he'd be dead and I could raid the home. But I thought better, I thought smarter. I'd let him gather some resources for me, and then I'll fuck him up. I made my way to a local petrol station to see what resources I could gather. The server was quiet, but I was getting too cocky. I had no weapon drawn and was running over open fields to get here. I was begging for trouble. I quickly run up to his base. Now this was previously a shell of an old decaying base that I had investigated, so I did actually have access and authorization to the tool cupboard, but I could not open the door. but to fuck with him I thought I'd just take his window bars and see if he shits himself. I waited in a bush just above his house, waiting for him to come back with all those resources. To see him shit scared as he saw his window bars had gone, as surely he would have known someone was fucking with his house, just so I could pierce an arrow into his skull and then claim the rest of his possessions. Now the little shit didn't come back and I was sat there looking like a muppet. So I decided to take an adventure over to a military tunnel. I've never been there before, and much to my surprise, a scientist started shooting at me. Now I tried to flank him round back and I did manage to pop an arrow in his chest, but the AI's aim was just too good. It got me and I was down and dead. Now I went and made a really nice ham sandwich, had a cup of coffee, had a break from the game, but when I come back I'd noticed that my neighbour had logged off and he wasn't on anymore, so I thought this would be the good opportunity to rob him. Low blow, I know, but I wanted the goods. Now I'm pretty pleased I didn't kill him when I first saw him, because he actually managed to acquire some useful stuff, like these shotgun incendiary rounds. I'm sure they'll come in use very soon. But yeah, I managed to get some alright resources from him. Not much, he's pretty poor, but it was pretty cool. My cockiness hit an all-time high on the server. A quick ladder up the side of a cement giant and I was on top. What could possibly go wrong? Maybe falling down a fucking hole in the middle that I couldn't get out of. I started panicking, I really didn't know what to fucking do. I was new and I wasn't sure what would take damage from what weapons. I started just panically shooting everything around me, trying to get some damage, trying to find a way into the base or out of it. I didn't care what was happening, I just needed to get out of this stuck position ASAP. Now, I had a ladder left, but because of this furnace in the middle of the hole, it wouldn't let me place the ladder anywhere. So if I had any hope of escaping, I needed to destroy this furnace. This was the best and most possible hope of surviving this outcome. That's when I realised I could actually jump up onto the furnace and down the sides and everything, but it was still no good. I still needed to destroy the furnace in order to place a ladder to be able to escape this thing. And finally, on my last string of resources, I built the last possible weapon I could to add some damage to the furnace, and I got through it. My panic wasn't over yet. I needed to place this ladder just right so I could clip the bottom of it and get all the way to the top. Now, because I don't have any built-in privileges here, if I misplace the ladder I can't place it again. This is such a tricky jump and I need to get it just right, otherwise I'm stuck in here. If I spawn, if I log out, my body's just sitting there with all my items for this guy to basically just fuck me over basically. But just as I was giving up hope, I managed to actually make the jump. I made it over the top, I was safe, I could go back to base. Now, some of you would think of this as a defeat, but I took it home as a win. I managed to destroy his big old furnace, and I got out alive and could go home. So, my first raiding experience was a very educating one. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on next time's story.